All right, we are live. Black Box Radio. We are in the box tonight. First thing of the week, Monday. This is a Monday moment. So last month, the community corner didn't come on, so we got to get back. Got to get back to my brother. Um, no, we came on, but Twan wasn't here. So Twan's here today, my co-host. And first, I want to say today is Black Box Radio's birthday. We started 9/19/19. So now today's our birthday. So we are celebrating 3 years in the biz. So today is our birthday, and we feel real good about today. So tonight we're going to talk about an amazing subject. I got my amazing co-host. We got an amazing guest. We're about to do some amazing things. Let me tell you about Black Box Radio. We are a media platform illustrating Black excellence. We platform Black people. We platform Black genius. We talk about Black information, the Black community, and we also connect with other communities from an authentic space, which is a Black space. And we do this about 8, 9 times a month. Please subscribe to our website, blackboxradio.com, but also hit up all of the social media, Black Box Radio, and subscribe to please our YouTube channel. We're trying to build that, so please subscribe to that channel also. So let's get down to business. It's the community corner, the space we got for community leaders. And I got my co-host with me tonight. Twan, say hi to the people and tell them who you is.
Hey, world. My name's Twan Queen. What's up, Baltimore? Co-host and partner of Black Box Radio, Community Corner, which sustains and helps to empower community about the education of level people from the ground are doing building community bridge work. I'm also founder and director of Hope Baltimore, helping oppressed people excel, which is located in Mount Vernon in Midtown, 811 Cathedral, Emmanuel Episcopal Church. You come up the right door, red door ramp, and right there. Helps in transitions, formally impacted people around their process on a therapeutic model to help them have a safe space, transition safe, and be able to maintain their transition and continue to bring others along with them so that they can be safe. Because one thing for certain, we have to find a measure to stop blaming others and look at the fault, or how do we correct the fault? It's the first time it was a mistake. You learn from it, move on. But you got to have those who empower hope around you to continue to make you push. And with that, join us one Tuesday. Just come through, see, check it out, throw it in the air, see what you get back. Trust me, it will keep you.
All right. That's what's up. Listen, Tuesdays. Come to the group. You're gonna love it. And tonight we have a person who's visited that group, who is really a reentry advocate. Also, his education is centered around reentry. This is his story. This is his study. And so we're going to kind of make a story about his study tonight. We're going to talk reentry with Brother David Clements. Welcome to the box.
Thank you. And just to piggyback on what Antoine said, if you come on a Tuesday, you might not leave, because it's such a beautiful thing to see that many brothers. And we'll talk about this later, but it's just beautiful to be a part of and to take part in those Tuesday conversations. You never know where they're going to go, but you're always going to walk away inspired.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So tell us a little about David Clements and what he's doing, and actually, what is your kind of place for reentry? And can we talk about that a little?
Absolutely. Well, we'll start with how I got here. It kind of found me. Back in 2012, I formed a nonprofit, and it was a fatherhood organization. And I experienced some limited success. I had some small grants. I was working with a few of the prisons and was working with the Office of Child Support, and so things were going okay. But then I had trouble getting funding, to be honest. Everywhere I went, they being the funders, they loved the idea, they loved the concept, but they just weren't willing to fund something about African American fathers.
Mm.
And so I had been working in the prison, so I kind of pivoted the program and started going behind the walls. in all 3 prisons that are here in Baltimore. And by doing that work, I just sort of started leaning more and more towards the part of reentry. And then I got inspired when I read a book, of course you've heard of it, Mass Incarceration, or The New Jim Crow, and that made me look deeper. So then I became naturally interested and started work on a PhD. And where that led me was I had to find a subject to write my dissertation on. And I thought, well, I could do a lot of easier things, but I wanted to study reentry. It's simply because we keep doing the same thing, and we know that within 3 years, more than half of people that are reentering go back. So my question, I had a strictly academic one, and a structural question was, why do we keep doing the same thing? And what exactly are we doing? It's obviously not working. So that led me to the dissertation about reentry, which led me to Antoine's fantastic group. I went around to a lot of different groups in the city, and it was very hard to get in, but Antoine's structure was very welcoming. He didn't ask anything of me, and that made me want to do more. And I started coming to the Tuesday meetings, and we were off to the races then.
Wow. So you've been coming and you haven't left, right?
Did leave, don't plan on leaving. Of course, things get busy with the dissertation, so sometimes I can't always make it, but I tell you, it's become, I'm actually finished with the research part. So now I'm going because I enjoy the fellowship, and I really, I'm sure we'll talk about more about what Antoine's doing and the magic behind hope, but that's what drew me in.
And that's what's up. That is what's up. So we're talking reentry tonight, and you guys, if you know Community Corner, you know my partner is a reentry advocate. He is reentry times 30. So he has an amazing program in Baltimore called Hope Baltimore. So not only are we going to talk about reentry, we're going to talk about how that program is being forward in the reentry space. You know what I mean? We want to know particularly more about hope, because I know you could talk about that all day long, right, Twan? Absolutely.
Absolutely. All day long.
All day long. So reentry, how big is that a problem in community, in families? And is it structured to be a help or a problem? Somebody take that.
You want me to go? Yeah, I go. Well, basically, I don't think automatically a lot of people get what reentry is. And like a lot of times the mentality of the streets, right? Like we spend more time inside than we do outside. We socialize and do different things, and we come up with concepts and skills and rules and mitigations of laws and postures of like friendships, postures of beefs, postures of education. I mean, it's certain different levels. But to come home from prison to society is not me reentering, because if anything happens, I go back to where I'm coming from, where I spend the most time at, and I just like rationally realize this over a period. If a person's from New York and they come to Baltimore, they going back to New York because they spent more time there. If they're in New York, they ain't gonna say I'm gonna return to Baltimore. They'll say I'm going back. Or I'm going north. But like this thing has went on a loophole so much, and certain policies have been made to structure you to always go back in. And it's an imaginary wheel that really exists with thousands and thousands of bodies and names on it that billions of dollars have been made of.
Okay, so reentry being, wow. So reentry in families and in community, it pulls families apart. What is the space of what reentry is doing to families and the way the system is set up? Because we talked about that a lot of times, like how folks are to come back in society, they might have to pay. They might have to labor to get back into society when they don't really have anything. They're coming out of prison. Some are coming out for long bids. So the way that it's structured, how does it put a stressor on like a family, on a community? The
I might be
structuring
able
of
to
reentry.
add a little bit to that question. It's the closest thing that I can think of it as. It's telling a person to go fight a lion with only a spear. You are up against some tremendous tasks and obstacles.
Okay.
Finding a job, family reunification. Put it this way: I spent a year in Afghanistan on the ground, and it's the same as coming home traumatized from war. In fact, it's probably worse because at least there you kind of know what's going to happen to you from day to day. It's the exact same trauma. The person has to try to pick up, and the only person that can really understand what they've been through is someone else. I mean, I have to be fully honest. I can never understand because I've never been incarcerated, but I can never really understand what it feels like. But I can sit down and intellectually think about all the things that someone has to do to get back into society. And we shouldn't even really be calling it reentry because you're not being removed from society. You're just being set aside for a little while. You're still a member. You still count. You still matter.
And that's what's lost. You know, like you've been reentry says you haven't been nowhere around society. You've been
You
away
don't got
from
nothing
it.
to do with it.
Yeah, you don't have nothing to do with it. But that's not very true because you're busy making policy and you're making spaces to make more money off the same population. So it's very present and lucrative. Let's talk about how lucrative it is. So okay, so reentry is a problem on both sides, and so hope. Kind of tell us, Twan, so folks that know more on an organic level how your organization is you. It's that you are the fuel to it and that you went through this. That's why you're so uniquely qualified to have this type of organization dealing with reentry. Let's talk about that a little.
Like Passion, like he said, there's a lot of conditions that surviving in prison, taught me and exposed me to. And there's a lot of things the streets exposed me to. So now, to understand what's up against me, and it was being said to me for years and shown, but I wasn't paying attention because of the images that was given for me to really look at. So now through these experiences, I had a chance to realize that. And like you said, reentry, if a supportive family is not there to help coach you through it, because there's a lot of trauma every day. You living with the possibility, could you get in a beef and get stabbed and never go home? While also waiting to go to court. You had children being separated, but really not even understanding the child is there and I'm here. And have to deal with that, and sometimes so based out of my experiences, I was paroled into a program that was structured to help transition and gave me something to really understand that I could do something different. But then in the process, it was cut off. They utilized MOUs was done incorrectly, should have been pitched out to other people and things of that nature. And I was like, well, if someone come up with an idea, how do you think you get a chance to pitch off the idea of them unless they tell it to you. You didn't create it. They brought y'all in as partners and da-da-da-da. So they said they would continue it. We went down there, we met with them, Secretary Moyer, another lieutenant, a council person, and like, oh, we like the good idea. We're not doing middle people, but we could put you with Weinberg and you could do this. And I said, nah. Like at that moment, I ain't know what to do about no grant. I ain't even understand it. All I was told was like, listen, we got some pay for y'all. Y'all can do this. Give us an idea. We'll put it all together, you know. And that's how we became part of the C5 coalition in 2015.
Okay.
You know, and dealing with that.
Let me ask you a question before you go. You said you were a part of it. What were you a part of?
Public Safety Compact.
Okay, so Public Safety Compact is what you were a part of.
Yeah.
And it ended.
Yeah, the funding got ended in 2015.
In 2015. And who ended it?
Governor Hogan.
Oh, okay. So
Governor Hogan and them, it was a partnership with millions of dollars was split up between them three. And longevity, I say they seen like how much money they could actually make and keep it to themselves and not split it up. Where Safe and Sound was about reproducing the same model. Like Agent Out of Foster Care was created, you know, to help transition them, to help them get housing, GEDs, and save up money to actually go to college or be reinforced, registered into the services they wanted to, or trades or something. Then the elevation program was also started out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when there was a portal that we was working on called Here for ReEntry that was developed out of it. You know, resource fairs was done every like 45 days. But in the end, $3 million was saved. And then they went and talked with them. Then they asked us to come speak with them to get a testimony why I should continue. 100 guys was waiting to be released. So that killed their parole. Wow. Because the only way you could get into the compact, you had to be denied by the parole board because of the repeat offenses and that you've been there over more than 2 times.
Wow. So where did these people go? They had to stay in?
Yeah, they had to stay in. Only one of them got out. Well, I know there's a few of them got out, Bruce said, right, that day. But Bruce was one who came home trying to find everything, couldn't find them. And I was like, bro, ain't no resources. We trying to like rebuild and put it back together. But I said, like, I will stick with you, check in with me every other day or every 2 days, at least 2 to 3, if it ain't nothing but that text 2 days, and then one day we hook up. But in the same process, I was taking him around to the resources that I had been networking with. So we went to Northwest Career Center, you know what I'm saying, Center for Urban Families, Merlin, Rob Bazell and them, and then like dealing with expungements for Alpha Justice and things of that nature. You know, right now today, you know, he just finished his apprenticeship and started his own electrician company.
Excellent.
So, you know, and Bruce, like, he comes down, but he comes down like at least once out of a month because his work schedule, and I understand it. But like any event that if I say, Bruce, we have an event and we part of it, if it's on a Saturday, he gonna be there.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful story.
What I'd like to point out, Queen, is the rapid changes that Antoine just talked about with the different groups and different things. Well, recidivism is generally measured in 3-year periods. So if you're, and as Antoine mentioned, there were all these changes without really knowing what's working and what's not. If you keep changing it every year, then there's no way that you can establish a baseline for what's actually working. So that's how you end up again not knowing what works and what doesn't.
Wow. And that's really like when it's cut off, then now here we go to there's nothing else. So what do people do?
Right.
So it feeds the narrative that nothing's working, but really it was cut off. Oh man.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's where Hope Baltimore came in to play, and you guys have been going on, and that's amazing. Okay. So when it looks to reentry, what do you see can be some of the changes, David, and Maryland?
Well, I think one of the things that we can definitely do here in Maryland is we've got to get our employers to hire these gentlemen.
Mm.
No matter what, they've served their time. They're back. They have to eat. They have to work. Working is traditionally what we value, and how it's our measuring rod for reentry. But if no one will hire them, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the things maybe we could offer, and this is just off the top of my head, you could offer tax credits. You could do all sorts of things to encourage employers to do just that.
Yeah.
We need the city to get more involved. If we know we have such high percentages of returning citizens, returning to mainly 5 different zip codes, well, then we know that's where the resources need to go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. So that's something to think about, tax credits and things like that. That we really give it incentive based.
They was actually doing that. They was doing that at one time, and it stopped around like 2005. And I've been asking people about it because during those times, when people was coming to work release, dudes was going home with their jobs and keeping them. And a lot of guys that came home like in the early 2000s came home and got connected to the city. And most of them actually are getting ready to retire. I know like 3 of them that was in a dorm with me, but when he came home, they got plugged to that in the 90s. And they get ready to retire. Yeah, they actually get ready to retire. Yeah, so it was working.
Yeah, part of rehabilitation should be preparing people to work outside or to be a example in society. It's like, just go out. You got to now pay us to be out because we got you on this box. And then once you do that, if you say you've been in jail, first of all, you got to be home at certain times. You got to be able to answer the phone so we can keep in touch with you. So it's a lot of things that people are going through to get back into society that we think is so easy. It's not. And once they go through all of those hoops, they got to look at their record and be afraid that once that comes up, there's going to be another problem.
So, some got burnt on charges that they shouldn't even have. Mm-hmm. And that has taken the ounce of everything from them. And then say best friends might have died off. There's some guys that's from Park Heights where they lived that don't even exist no more. And all that can be traumatizing.
Yes, yeah.
Living in the inside and structures and rules and cages closing in front of you repeatedly, and you can't move, because there's red lines and many microwebbing to traumatize a person from the trauma that they already coming into the system, that the system already perpetuated on them in every measure across the board.
Wow.
Legit, legal and illegal.
Wow.
Like 72 communities. They say only 64 markets in here, but they only eligible in 5% of the inner city areas. And a lot of this stuff, they say in numbers, and I'm saying to live in the conflicts and lifestyles that we did takes science and mathematics. And the science evolves things on slower density rates, faster density rates, crash cause collisions. And then the math shows me how these percentages are used, but they really equaling 1 out of 4 persons. So every 4 people making up 1 people. We ain't even left Jim Crow or the 13th Amendment yet.
So that's what you said. So you're saying that the science is based on one of four persons. So one black person is four persons. Is that what you're saying? And that's what the science is based on? You gotta be kidding me. Gotta be kidding me.
You
Wow.
serious? Look at the studies. 84%, 64%, 92%. Everything is 100,000 out of this. You know, so it looked like numbers being conglomerate, but when I look, 190,000 people live in low income with no food no food condensity to help them structure themselves healthy in their neighborhoods. So like, where's the real hope at to like help us even understand how to really even live? Because it ain't a picture there.
Mm, okay. Wow. That's a mouthful, brother David.
It is.
That is an absolute mouthful. Listen, so you're researching for your dissertation. Can you tell us some of the findings you've had of the application of reentry into society as we know it with our loved ones? Can we hear a
Well,
little bit about your?
still crunching the data because I just finished gathering it. But I can tell you from what I've seen, which was one of the reasons why I continue to go back to Hope every week, because what you see there is actually um, one of the identity development pieces that occurs. You get to see it there. And that self identity is known as the feared self versus the possible self. And
Mm,
so, what you kind of hear every week is Antoine and some of the other guys constantly reminding and sending messages to each other that, hey, that feared self, that thing you used to be, that thing that you didn't like, that thing that you spent time behind bars, if you don't do what's right, you will end up re experiencing that. It will continue. And
mm-hmm,
that's the possible self. So Antoine's building through communication and through brotherhood and through fellowship. He's building them to set the platform to be their possible selves, particularly through his things like we did a backpack giveaway, back to school giveaway a couple of weeks ago.
mm-hmm,
Twan, am I right on that? It was a couple of weeks ago. I knew it was recently. And so if you think about it, you've got guys that are struggling with reentry doing backpack giveaways. That's not in alignment. That has nothing to do with them finding a job, nothing to do with reentry, but it does because it's helping them be a productive part. They're hitting the community right in a positive way.
yep,
And so that's what we need more of.
yep. We need all pieces of the puzzle. People aren't one dimensional. Get them to work, get them to do. People have to touch the community. People have to come out and do so many things. Just sit at the beach is an amazing feeling. Just let people be human. When they've been behind bars, I really think that we got to look into that and humanize folk and not make them some cash cow. Um, have to find a way to make it an easy experience, a more transitory experience, and a family connection experience. When you've been traumatized, you need people who love you. So we got to find different ways. So in your research, and because you're in the Baltimore advisory for reentry, am I correct, Brother
I haven't
David?
participated in that in quite some time.
Okay,
But yes, at
so
one point, and that was sort of getting the hooks in when I started really becoming passionate about reentry.
okay, and so you're saying you're passionate about it. So what makes you so passionate about reentry? Let's hear that.
Well, I think my first true passion is in fatherhood. I have two kids, and so when I became interested in it, I started looking at, well, what's happening. It started from an avenue of how many children in the country are impacted by incarceration. The number is incredible. And then it started from, well, what happens with these men when they come home? Is it what's offered to them? What do we utilize? Are they being put to good use? Are they productive citizens? And who's helping that? Who's helping them? And I was just shocked that no one really. You'll get some that have only said, well, my parole officer asked me, am I working each time? You know, there's a lot more to reentry than just that.
Wow. So it's a rough process. It sounds really rough, real rough, real rough. So, Twan, when it comes to hope, what are the things that you set up for people who are coming back into society?
So basically, like, there's an intake process that we do for each other, you know, every 90 days. You know, that what is it that you plan to do? What is it that you come from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the first process, how are you going to stabilize yourself for employment? We're going to help you. You know what I'm saying? We're going to help you and support you, you know, but you have to figure out what it is you're doing. And at times, being careful to understand, because some of us played with money in large amounts because of lifestyle before criminality, right? But like, now you're in a situation where everything's against you, and to like understand you still trying to live off this model of a bag. So what's the process and passion for you really having that bag so you can secure yourself, you know what I'm saying, in transition? So we have network partners in every level from jobs, and some of them come through, some of them don't. Some people have set up like moving jobs and things of that nature, but one of the things I primarily put on guys to like build themselves is making this accountable that you hear every Tuesday is the first problem of you being responsible and showing that like you can show up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you get to a point of like coming at the end, you know, then it's not that important no more, because you may have gotten to a point where you feel you good.
Mm-hmm.
But every time, each and one of us, even myself, we have found that we had to go back to that first level. You know what I'm saying? Even in the life laws of being a coach, you know, first recognizing who I'm being responsible to and why I'm being responsible to them. If it doesn't validate me to move on and be supported as a benefit for my own transition, then I'm failing myself. You know, because on the other side, there's always whispers, cravings, likings, remembrance, attractions that can say you can do this one more time, but not saying 20 years gonna be 720,000 they're gonna make off you.
I don't understand how you can. So who pays that? The system pays the system 720,000.
The money that taxpayers put in,
Okay, that pays.
a group of it at 39,000 pays for the 22,000 people that's incarcerated from 1 year to life, to triple life, the double life. Then on the other side, 3,500 is used on parole and probation. So 15 years suspended, 5 years probation. And what I'm trying to research to find out, because the 15 years is suspended, is still a sentence. Is money made off that, while also you on 5 years probation, and money is being made off that.
Wow.
And then you had to pay $40 a month. You had to pay restitution fees, and this stops you from getting your license. This stops you from actually getting a job. The unit rule placed on you with one charge you pleaded out to, and the conviction can't be expungable, so it makes everything inexpungible. One charge is a 5-year layover before you can get it expunged after you come off probation. But then if you catch one within 90 days of that year, it maximizes both of them. So if one is 15, now you caught another one, so now you don't come off till 30.
Oh.
So this is why we have so many convicted felons and repeat offenders, because of these structured red lines have been placed around us that keep us locked in a box in a money-making system.
Isn't that something, Queen? And these are all moving pieces that unless you've experienced it, you will never know.
You will know it, but it's not only is moving, we call it moving pieces to make it sound good, but it's diabolical.
It is.
It's well thought out. It's intentional. And it extracts from another human in a way that's deceptive. And then at some point take that same deception and demonize them and keep them in that space with all of these controls, like you got to do this, and you got to see your PO, and you got to be on parole, you got to all of these systems of control to keep you in this money making movement. It's diabolical, Brother David.
Yeah, it truly is.
And to bring your friends and family into it unintentionally.
And I got to give a shout out to Twan again. He can run down some scenarios that just have your mind spinning. And at the same time, it makes you cry because it makes you realize this is the meat grinder.
It is.
If you get your little finger stuck in there, it can end up a whole different scenario.
You come up with a mango life.
Will. And Twan can crack those numbers and run down the scenarios of a lot of stuff.
Unbelievable, my goodness. So, man, so they're making money off of every juncture, every stop. It's like every time the train stops, ching ching, right? Every time the train. So how are you guys doing it then? How are you guys getting forward in this system? Because
the only way
for you to be forward.
Change, the fire has to burn all the way out. The urge has to be that I ain't doing no more. I done it. It ain't work out. But it's always visions that's shown of close ones that you never thought and be like, really? Wow. But then there are other visions that's shown that if I go back, them, him, and all what I see right now, then I have to think 20 years ago before this was happening, how it was with us. And I'll tell you, like a lot of my homies, I lost a lot of people. You know, I lost a lot of people that was close.
Wow.
To both sides. Life in prison and like to the earth. Wow. But I understand, like, I really understand certain examples was given so I could be aware to be here. You know, and even in my own playing with it, I ain't with all that, we're gonna keep doing this and being shot and stabbed.
Wow.
Being stabbed on Park Ice and Violent, and then it like, yeah. And then surviving because the streets taught me, deal with it and deal with the pain later. I went home and got in the shower while I was bleeding dead out of the center of my stomach.
Wow.
But controlling steady, using, getting high, numbing it. Wow. But actually grabbed the gun and went and looked for the person. But then like collapsed.
Wow.
You know, so like Queen, like the one thing that we move by is each of us push each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and no one's left behind. Whether like you just coming in, you may have to catch up, but you got to walk your pace.
Mm-hmm.
Because you try to run at another's pace, you don't know where it's going to take you.
Sure.
And I learned that like running a lot of paces. I ran a lot of paces,
Hmm.
you know, to catch up, and always ended up slam with 10, slam, 9, slam, 20, you know. And now today, I was shown a pace. And it really like gave me hope that like if I push everything to this just as I did for the streets, and this shit gonna be remarkable. You
That's
thought my name was banging then? No, I want no same thing,
same banging, right, bruh?
same thing. Only this time I ain't hurting homes and families and loved ones and friends' families and people in a drastic astronomic need, and then wind up in my situation at an aspiratic need and having no concern for life.
Um,
Just pure
yeah,
enough. So
that's the
and I
good
can
one.
see it. I see it on people. It's a it's a dark it's a dark illness out there.
Mm. Well, we got to pull them in one at a time. One
Yeah,
at a time.
yeah,
It's dark outside. It really is.
yeah.
But thank God there's light inside.
Yeah, there is light though. There is
If it
light.
was dark inside, we'd be in trouble. There is some light, so thank God for that light.
And I've
So
seen
we,
Twan just say to people, "Give me 90 days." That's
mm-hmm.
all he asks up front. Give me 90 days.
90 days, 10 Tuesdays. Just give me 10 Tuesdays. I guarantee you, it'll totally be different than it was when you first come in. Even if you play and joke around, it's still gonna be different. Mentally, because it's a three-pronged thing. Mentally, physically, and in being emotionally bonded.
That's what's up. And when you could change hearts and change minds and change the way people are doing things, then you're truly blessed, you know. And when you come out of here from that type of situation, which is jail or in prison or whatever, you need a support system. And it usually should come from someone who's done this before. Then they know how to set you up. You know, like I wouldn't know how to set you up. I'll probably have some very unnecessary stuff in that would make it worse because I haven't done
And,
it before.
and that's what I have to remind myself of as well, Queen, that as an academic, no, it's not up to me to tell them
That's
what
true.
they need. It's up to me to listen, get in where I can, try the best that I can, and then understand, and then serve as somewhat of a catalyst for others.
That's it.
That's my job. My job is not to say, well, I know this and I know that, and this should happen, because Twan's got that covered. He's been there, done that,
Yeah.
and have done it successfully. He's changed lives.
I remember when me and Mr. Dave first met, and he was like, "Man, I want to talk to guys or men and women about their reentry transition, and far as what's the struggles for obtaining food and distance close to them, living. Do they know about calories and things of that nature?" And I said, like, Mr. Dave, like, I really want you to hang around because, like, I'll get them to open up and you will get all what you're looking for, and week by week, different levels, but it was all coming back around what we eat affects the way we think and react,
Absolutely.
and the process of where it come from conditionally like affects us to do and get involved in other situations
Absolutely.
that affects us healthily, that then we got to pay to get something fixed that wasn't going on in the beginning.
Absolutely. Food triggers behavior, and
Don't,
behavior comes from irrational thought or rational thought. So that right there is amazing. And so that's how I first got together. How you guys first got together. Okay.
Yeah. I thought I was just gonna do my thing, go to a few meetings, talk to a few guys, and be off and running. But it didn't work like that. It helped me realize one thing that I guess sometimes academics get called eggheads for a reason. They can get so caught up in what they think they need to know, and it made me realize you can't do reentry work unless you're in the room with them, because will never understand some of the things and the way Twan can put things, and the way I've seen guys get at each other when they feel like somebody ain't coming right. You got to experience that. There's no way you can know what you're talking about in reentry if you haven't been in that room. And so I was very fortunate that Twan said, he didn't say no. He said, I want you to come around for a little while.
Yeah.
Because I wanted him to get the gist of, and I wanted them to be comfortable, because when they hear academics and hear a professor, and I say like, it's, what I mean, studying this, and they be like, yeah, you see how Boom was trying to challenge you. Well, what I mean? And that's the thing that I love, because
we got some characters in there.
That gets to show, Think and Evolve can rise to show like emulation of pride, to prove themselves. So it's still, that's a sign even showing where they coming alive, willing to carry the torch. But everybody ain't made to be a torch bearer. Some some are going to just be employed and come and head and to stay on key. Some going to add to and bring relationships, partnerships, ideas, concepts. Some going to be able to like get the word out, get who we are, and promotion and how they doing and what they doing is changing. So I was get to looking at them, get to being interested, family and everything, and I always say each one of us represents a different letter of the four-letter word. Somebody's going to be the excelment. Somebody's going to be the helping part. Somebody's going to be the oppression. Somebody's going to be the people. But all together, you got to always remember that we Baltimore. We the existing thing that shows a roundabout community that together, we ain't like, no, we moving. We moving ahead. Really are.
Moving ahead. Love that. I love that. Mr. David, when it comes to your work, you said you passed the research part, and now you're coming in with, and now you're in love with Hope Baltimore. You're not leaving. So what should we expect from this dissertation that you're about to put together for your PhD? What should we expect, and what do you want to what's your deliverable, in other words, about reentry?
Sure. Well, my deliverable, I can already tell you, because as you picked up, I finished the data collection. Now it's the writing, the summary, and the conclusion. And I can tell you already what I know, and for what I've seen, is that there's real strength in the feared self versus the promised self. And Antoine's in the business of showing them what they can be like, and reminding them. Sometimes I've seen Twan get right to the point where he says, hey, we got to put this back because we put bad stuff out in the street. So we got to give stuff back. And that's what it's all about, building stronger men. And so I don't see me going further from reentry, but I'm definitely about fatherhood and building stronger men here in Baltimore City, because we have such a system here that tears people apart, especially men who look like us. That system's a beast, and somebody's got to do something about it. And the only people that really, really have, if you think about it, the only people that really have a vested interest in this is who? Us.
Us.
That's it. That right there. We got the greatest vested interest in all of it.
Sure do.
Yeah, and we definitely got to move. We definitely got to move, man.
we've got to stop looking down our noses at people, stop being to the point where we won't help each other. You know, all those guys at Hope that I've come into contact with, those are honestly my friends now. Because like Twan said, you got to come. And through that, when we build those relationships externally and with intentionality, we can't help but improve our communities.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You can't just shoot up something you care about.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, you can't just ruin something that you really love. You know, and if we have the relationships in our communities and we get to know each other, and it's hard to come kill and hurt it. You know, we're living in silos. We're not living connected. So it's good for Black men to get a connection. You know, in your own spaces.
Right. Got you. Because the men, this, you know, like people not even seeing, and they affecting and taking the women out of households. They taking the children out of households.
Wow.
You know, they focusing on a whole justice model all against youth. You see every day that they got different labels to target and make bets on Wall Street through. Predator, you know, gang members, you know, squeezy boys. They threats to these communities. These are the same things that the word felon describes originality of why people are labeled as felons. You either was a threat or effective to the economy value of a community, so you had to be removed. And the punishment is a $10,000 fine, but punished by death. You know, so they worked this whole law on us, and they didn't convict us because after serving a sentence, you come home, you start a reconviction all over again. You know, so I had to first in myself, I had to get past that it could actually work for me, because I knew how my jacket was. I knew how, but I had some homeboys, friends of mine, that was starting their own little things and working their way up, cutting grass and other things, rehabbing houses. But all of us stayed bonded and talking. And I'm like, I'm doing this, and I tested a lot of the questions out on them and what we was doing. And some got their own businesses. Some got their own real estate companies. You know, I'm looking at where I'm at and bringing hundreds of guys who have come through here, where they at. You know, and questions now are being asked, why we not being let inside courtrooms to actually do the intake processes with guys. You know, commissioner had a DPCS, you know, asking what better way do we think relationships can be built between parole officers and their parolees, you know. And I'm like, won't you remove the title as a parolee? He know he on parole. You know, some of the red lines, but these things, data analytics to have to be put out there so they can show that it can make money off. Because you think about 87% of a community is convicted. I mean, that leave. And then young is looking up the popularity. 30-something% of the fathers that went in before the age of 25 with no diploma. So, you know, we're looking at possible plans, like you said, that been well thought out in 20-year aspirations. And now what we had to do, because now we know, we got to start thinking the same way and building up for the next 20 years for the youngins so they can take over.
That's true.
And it's happening right before our eyes. You know, we got to be careful with labels. Like Antoine mentioned the term parolees. You know, first, get rid of the title. How about we not let our young men be called squeegee boys? They're not squeegee boys. These are young men who need money.
Yeah, that's
They're
it.
not squeegee boys. Because if we keep using that term, then the next thing you know, it'll be, how are we going to outlaw the squeegee boys?
Mm-hmm.
You can't outlaw a person. You can outlaw something, a behavior, but not a person.
Person,
And so we've got to be careful in that.
That's what
Just
they're
like
gonna
you
do.
can't, call a person forever a felon. They're not a felon. They weren't born a felon.
Yeah, absolutely not.
I love that. But this society is built on labels, and then they build around that label. It can make it. They can even make it super positive or super negative.
Stick, make it stick.
It's just whatever they want, or they can make it positive for 1 minute, and then the next minute be the worst thing in the world. But it's like you said, you cannot control a part. You cannot convict a person, but you definitely convict the label.
Right.
Is that what you said?
The behavior.
The behavior.
Behavior. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you could do. Okay, yeah, you could definitely do that. That's something. All right, so we 55 minutes in, guys, and I love this conversation about reentry, and so I want to talk a little bit of how it affects women, and I want to talk a little bit. But I know Hope is a male dominated space, but you do have welcome women, but women have issues too, and more. As in the state of Maryland. So can we talk about the reentry for a lady, because they're paying for parole and they're in prison?
I mean, like, it's like 15 women that I have like support and help through us. They came to groups, but because of certain personalities and emotional scars, and looking to a fine way, I don't want to get caught up in that, and then it crashes everybody. Mm-hmm. Or someone like, there have been times that certain things like whispers around like, yeah, I like shorty or blah, 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 blah. And then I'm like, bro, we're here for one thing only. Mm-hmm. Because some of it we had to really like understand of a misinterpretation of how to be in relationships. We did a lot of things that affected us to do gradual other harms. Mm-hmm. So some of the partners, that's who I would connect them with. And they still, some of them are still around. They volunteer or they working with them. And some other partners then had friends that was doing something, and then they then like came and got involved. And this thing that spread to like PG County, Anne Arundel County, because it's a bigger problem. Like I always say that we have to start visualizing and relating with other cities that are affected by this, because discussions have been talked, studies have been done, but studies are still being done to us because we're the last one at the bottom of the map.
And they are out there. For instance, Baltimore is one of the few cities that is known as hyper-segregated, which was a term that I wasn't aware of until I started reading more and more about it. Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia, Cleveland. These are all hyper-segregated cities. And so what I think Twan is saying is we have to start working. They're beyond segregated. Right. They're beyond segregated.
They're beyond segregated.
Right. You don't even, think of segregation on
so hyper is beyond segregated.
Yeah, right. Beyond segregated. Segregated, you know who it is. It's beyond that.
It's beyond that. Where you have people who have never been in certain parts of the city. Because that's the way it is. Baltimore is one of those cities. And so what I think Antoine is referring to is we really need to start working with groups like that, like us, in other cities.
Yep.
You have to try to get to this problem. And you said Baltimore, Chicago, Cleveland,
Detroit,
Philadelphia.
Yeah. South Carolina.
And just imagine how all of these cities have issues.
Right.
They
All of
have
them.
the and violent issue. Philadelphia right now has a violence issue that is out of control. Well, none of them are in control, but Philadelphia is their numbers are very high. And so you in Detroit and Chicago and the blight in some of these cities, all of them have the same characteristics.
Heuristics. Yeah.
The
Certainly do.
same characteristics. So these are all intentional movements.
I'm gonna tell you how powerful this is. Notice the guy in Philly got suspended for what? Trying to decrease or decree a certain law that he felt that was oppressive. Guy in Chicago got sat down. You look here, Mosby got voted out. You know what I'm saying? You gotta look at all of the subliminal plans all come to being seen. You know, but the thing is, we gotta understand politics in a measured way because we gotta start educating each other on what our rights are, what protects us and don't protect us, what is granted privileges, what is the numbers and scores that say in 3 years you will do this, but only one of y'all gonna possibly make it. Why can't we prove the number like, no, all of us gonna make it? If you with me, we making it.
That's what the system is not built for a united front.
Yeah.
Towards one goal. The system is built to break down individuals.
Separate.
It takes you separately, it eats you up and mangles you up, and then it puts you in a pile. Then you ain't once everybody's mangled, you become this mangled pile.
Yeah.
But see, the system was never built for it to have to fight 50 at once or 10 at once. So there's definitely success in numbers. It is absolutely success in numbers. So listen, you guys got to keep going over at Hope. David, you got to keep bringing your intellectuals into the building with the brothers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys keep doing that and expanding this reach of reentry. And it tells a person like me who has no clue of the things people have to go through. You know, you think they get out and it's okay. I never knew they were paying to have the box on the ankle.
Yeah.
Never knew somebody pay. How you pay for that when you come out of jail?
Man, there's so many issues that when they say sign your papers, it's time to go. When that door open, a sense of I don't know how I just got here. It's just an empty space. You know, and many guys and some guys and me and Bacario Darius, we done had to be there. You know? Or like we walk at night and sometimes walk over to Green Mountain to see if we see guys just to help them like, bro, you need a bus pass, huh? You go bus pass and get you something to eat. Bro, just come check us out too. You know? Some come through, some we might see again, but then they wind up coming then, you know? And it's so many different pieces of the manifest that it work because every person brings his own dedication to what he's really trying to figure out to be. You know, because we come from a place where everybody else showed us what to be. So now we got to figure out what is it we really like? Who is it we really are? What is it that I'm really keened into? Do I know why I feel like this or why when such and such happens, I break out in the hot sweats? Because now your warning signs might be reworking again. And as they say, where empowerment is at, change can happen.
Wow. Well, that's I think that's the spiritual jewel we needed. I really do. Say that one again, Twan. Knock us with that one more time.
Where hope empowers, change can happen.
Love it. I love that. I definitely love that. Brother David, I want you to leave something inspirational with us. Leave something with the black boxes about reentry, about who you are, what you do. Leave a jewel with us.
Oh, Well, it's going to be hard. I think Antoine just left us with a powerful word, and he does that just about every Tuesday. Off the top of his head, he drops some real knowledge on folks. I don't think I have anything to add to that other than,
Oh,
all of us need to be a part of this reentry, because if you think it doesn't affect you, I mean, I could easily sit back and say, well, reentry doesn't affect me. Realistically, I have a 17-year-old son upstairs in his room right now doing his homework. Reentry could affect me. It affects us all. Are we going to continue to not help these men get back into our communities and into our lives? Are we going to continue to stand back and point fingers at them and say, well, they didn't do this or they did that and they need to pay for blah, blah, blah? These men are us. They are our community. And
that's
so
it.
we've got to help. We've got to get in.
Gotta get in. Wow. Amazing words. Listen, this has been the Community Corner for September. We've had David Clements, reentry, we would say specialist. David is doing some amazing work around reentry, writing his dissertation. So we're looking forward to even hearing or reading that when that
Well,
comes out. When you do your defense and all of that good stuff. So blessings on this movement with your PhD. Because that's not an easy task neither. So blessing on that task.
oh, thank you. And
And
it's also I can do the work more effectively. That's what it's about.
I hear that. And I also want to say again, this is our third year. Today is Black Box Radio's birthday. Black Box Radio is 3 years old. It's a blessing to still be in a community building and still doing this and putting information out on a weekly to monthly basis. Whereas we could just be authentically Black and talk about things that are going on in our community and try to build community and connection. And so the community corner is that. I'm with my brother, my co-host, Twan. It's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure with you.
Always, always.
Always an absolute pleasure. And Black Boxes, guess what? We boxed up and out. Can I get some deuces from my brothers? Let me get them deuces, bros. Yes, so we gone.
Deuce, gone.
Go. Don't go nowhere,
All
guys.
right.
I just ended it.